Hey y'all, so let's talk about over apologizing. Why do we do it? Where does it come from? And what's the negative impact of this tendency to apologize for our mere existence? And how do we stop doing it? So the thing about it is that we over apologize because in some formative years of our lives, we were told that if we could just stay out of the way, maintain the peace inside of that environment, that was us doing the right thing and existing in our full capacity. When you become an adult and you go further into your journey of adulthood, you realize that is not always the case and not always true. And in fact, if it is, then you're probably people pleasing and codependent, because the reality is there are going to be people who do not like you, do not care for your opinion, and do not care for the way that you move. I realize that when I create these videos, there are going to be people who do not like my videos, do not like me, and I have to be okay with that. But if everyone likes you, then you're conforming to the people who are in your environment to be liked. And that is not why you were placed here. You were placed here to be the version of you that you were created to be, and whatever environments that you're in need that person inside of that environment, whether it's to incite some sort of change, whether it's to add more clarity to a situation. Your opinion is needed inside of those spaces. And so when we get into our adulthood, when we've experienced that in childhood, our natural inclination is to be like, I'm going to apologize for everything. So if I, misspeak in a conversation, or if you're about to say something and I'm about to say something and I'm overly apologetic about the fact that we started at the same time. And I have tons of examples of this because I used to be an over apologizer. You grab the pen at the same time to sign into your session and you're like, thinking about this all day about how this person is going to think that you're an idiot because you stepped in front of them. And, it's just overthinking and it creates this internal chaos. But there is a psychology behind over apologizing and excessive apologizing. And it is in full alignment with people pleasing and being insecure. You don't think that you should take breath and take up space in the environments that you're in. So you want to be a wallflower and draw back into your internal self and not make any waves in the environment. And so being in someone's way or speaking when they were going to speak, or even misunderstanding the conversation and talking about something completely different, which I just did the other day when we were in a meeting and we're talking about something, and I realized 2 minutes later that the entire piece of the conversation that I added wasn't really in alignment with the topic of the conversation. And I was like, oh my gosh. But then instead of beating myself up, I was like, okay, that happens all the time. I had something on my mind that was a problem, and they were asking for problems about this one specific topic, but the thing that was on my mind was so blaring that I completely misread the question that was being asked. Happens all the time. We do need to learn how to apologize and apologize well. That looks like I did something wrong. I did something to hurt another person. I did something, whether intentionally or unintentionally, and it caused another person harm. Yes, apologize. I accidentally rammed the cart into the back of someone, not intentionally, but I did it, and I'm going to apologize. Something that I said or did affected my kid in a negative way. Yes, I'm going to apologize. I acted a complete fool because I went back to the tendencies of the parenting that I was given in childhood as opposed to the way that I want to parent my kids. I'm going to go apologize. Really sorry I did that way. I would love a do-over. And also, let me explain to you why I'm apologizing. But over apologizing is an effort to not cause any emotion but happiness in the people around you. And that can be very dangerous because it falls into those people-pleasing habits. And so therefore, you're not actually in the room because you don't believe that you have an importance to impact the room. So you want to shrink so that the room is not affected by you, instead of becoming the full version of you that may have to apologize because they got too passionate in the conversation. That happens to me all the time. Really sorry that came across as me being mad at you. I'm not mad at you at all. I'm just really passionate about this topic. But over apologizing suggests that you're unwilling to be your full self in conversation, in circumstance, because you don't want anybody to be negatively affected by you. What happens though is you lose your ability to positively affect the environments around you because you're apologetic for your mere existence. And we're not doing that anymore. We don't need to be apologetic for our existence because we were created for such a time as this, to be in the rooms that we're in, to be in the conversations that we're in. And it is okay to, with full intention, say something, do something, or be something in those rooms that may ruffle a couple of feathers. You didn't do it on purpose. Those conversations can happen. You can communicate about it, but you do not need to apologize for your mere existence because that is purposeful. You're supposed to be there. What can happen when you over apologize is that people start to see that you do not value yourself, and therefore those people will not value you either because they see that you do not have self-worth, that you do not think you bring anything to the table. So inadvertently, they won't expect that you're going to bring anything to the table either. The other thing is that it gives you this unnecessary feeling of guilt. So you're walking around feeling guilty for breathing because you feel like you're going to have to apologize to somebody for just drawing in the same breath that they were going to draw in. And we don't have to do that. Other people are operating in the same world that you're operating in. They're drawing breath, they're taking up space, they're giving their opinions, they're telling people and the world their dreams and hopes and adding to the conversations and acting in certain ways. And they also can apologize when the apology is necessary. And they cannot apologize when they know that they've brought value to the conversation that maybe everybody in the room didn't love, but they still are valuable to that room and that space. You do not have to apologize for breathing, and you do not have to feel guilty for wanting to incite yourself into the spaces that you're in because you were chosen to be there. And when you're constantly apologizing, it weakens the communication between you and whomever you are in relationship with. If you have to tell your kids no, and you have to be stern in your no because they're doing the please, please, please thing, which by the way drives me insane because it doesn't change my answer. Your communication is going to be weakened if you apologize for having to say no to them. I apologize that I have to say no to you, but I have to say no to you because I don't really think this is a good idea. And I'm really, really sorry that I have to do that. No, I understand why you're upset about my no, but I have to stick with my no because my gut is telling me that that is the right answer for this situation, and my job is to keep you safe. I'm not going to apologize that my job is to keep you safe. I'm not going to apologize that I'm leaning into my intuition on this one. I don't want you to feel sad, but I want to protect you more than I want to keep you happy. That's just the reality of parenting. And so when you start to apologize for everything, you weaken the communication, especially with people who are looking for a way to get into your vulnerable spots, to get you to change your answer, to get you to change your opinion, to get you to change your perspective so that they can manipulate the situation. You don't have to apologize for doing what's right. We don't apologize for that. And here's how we stop doing that. It's really difficult when you're somebody who's done it for years and years and years. Ask yourself if the apology is necessary. Do I need to apologize for this thing? Now, if you're one of those people who are estranged from people in your life because you won't apologize because you did your best, or I was the best version of this that I could be, or look at all the stuff I've done for you, that's a whole different video. Because even when you didn't do things intentionally, sometimes an apology is necessary. So you got to change your mindset about that. But in this particular instance, we're talking about those people who consistently over-apologize. Ask yourself if an apology is necessary. Ask yourself if you were on the receiving end of whatever that thing was, would you expect an apology? If somebody took the sticky notes out of the bag and you were going for them and they handed you one after they took one, does that warrant an apology? No, you don't need to be apologized for that. And you're going to say that to yourself. Would that warrant an apology if I were on the receiving end of this? And if the answer is no, do not apologize. You don't have to. If you're a couple of minutes late for something, if you don't do something immediately when somebody needs you to do it, etc., you can say things that aren't apologies. Thank you for being patient with me. You don't have to apologize if you got stuck behind a train and it was beyond your control and you left 20 minutes earlier than you should have to be there on time and you're still not on time. You don't apologize for that. You can't control it. You can't control if there's an accident on the highway, but you can say, I appreciate you for being patient for me, because you do appreciate that about the other person, but you don't have to apologize for something that was beyond your control. And so ask yourself, does that warrant an apology? The other thing is to start setting boundaries with the people in your life, because when you set boundaries, you apologize less. If you realize that that person takes advantage of you constantly, has expectations for you, tries to incite guilt, and you create those boundaries so that you can keep the relationship, if you stick to those boundaries, you'll apologize less. Oh my gosh, I texted you 3 times and you didn't text me back. Why didn't you text me back yet? Don't say you're sorry, because they texted you 3 times in the last 30 minutes because their dumpster fire became somehow your emergency and now they have an expectation of you. You don't have to be overly apologetic to be a good person. You need to question who created that version of good in your brain, because that doesn't exist. You don't have to accept that. But you can say, hey, I understand that you needed me immediately, but you texted me 3 times in 30 minutes and I happened to be busy. I was going to get back to you when I was able. So that you're not saying, listen here, buddy, you're not entitled to my time. I'm sticking to this boundary that says I don't have to immediately respond to you. That's something that's going on in you. I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not going to go, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You needed me and I wasn't there. No. Their dumpster fire is not your immediate emergency because they waited till the last minute for something. But you can very candidly say, yeah, I was busy, so I couldn't get back to you. Is there something I can help you with now? I'm not going to apologize because you have an expectation that I didn't fulfill when I never accepted that expectation because I placed a boundary around it. Keep those boundaries and you will have less apologies that are over apologizing for things that you have no reason to apologize for. And also, practice assertiveness. Just like I said in that conversation with your kids. Don't apologize because you have to tell them no. Tell them I have to tell you no because my job is to protect you over all other things. Love you, protect you, keep you safe. I'm doing all that. This no has to come with that because that's my job. I know you don't understand it, but later you will. And right now my answer is still going to be no. I'm not going to be at your beck and call today because I have meetings, and that's my assertiveness. I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to tell you that I'm sorry that I'm at work. You have to understand that as a person on the receiving end, that sometimes that means assertiveness. When your boss asks you to do something that isn't particularly your job and you know that you don't have the ability, capacity, or even skill to do the thing, it is not wrong to say, that seems out of the wheelhouse of my job description. I don't really think that I could do that to my best capability, but I know someone who can because it's in their job description. Don't say, I'm sorry, I don't really think I can get to that right now. It shows this level of, I am not confident in who I am and what I bring to the table, and I can be used, abused, and run over by everyone. And you're not that person. So if that's you today and you're walking around this world apologizing for every single breath you take and move you make and sentence that you say, I encourage you to really hone in on asking yourself, does that warrant an apology? Do I need to set some bigger boundaries here because this person is guilting me? And also, in my assertiveness, am I doing the right thing here to incite what needs to be incited, to not have to apologize for every single thing that I'm doing? And lastly, and I'm going to reiterate this because it's so important, realize the value that you bring to the table. Because if you are there God placed you there, and He placed you there with the wisdom that you have and the abilities that you have and the skills that you have for a purpose. Don't apologize for that. Don't apologize for God putting you in a place that He wants you to be in. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe to the page. And as always, knowledge gained and kept to yourself is selfish, but shared with other people may just be the catalyst they need to break free from the bondages they're experiencing. So share this video with your friend, share it with other people, share it with some people who need to hear it. And I appreciate you, and I'll see you again next time.